Hi there everyone, this is Penelope. This is the third part of MG5004 T1 class 1. So now we're up to part 3. So this is still a recording of the live lecture that you will have had on Wednesday the 26th of February 2020. Right, we were looking at showing an interval on the real line. We've got, for example, a closed interval -4 to -2. Now, if we draw that on the number line, it's from -4 to -2, and it includes the boundaries like that. So what we can say is, well, 3 must be in the middle. And if we write something like x and what do we want to say? If we write, sorry, not 3 in the middle, -3 in the middle. So if we write this as the absolute value of x minus the -3, and we can see that that's 1 unit that way and 1 unit that way, and we can write it then, because it's closed, as that. Now, rearranging that, we could write it in full. We could say that x is such that the absolute value of x, now x minus -3 is actually x plus 3, is less than or equal to 1. The next one, what's the middle between 1 and 7? That must be 4, and then the distance either way is 3. So we can write that as x such that the absolute distance between x being 4 to start with and 7 is 3, but it's less than, so it's got to be less than 3. Now the next one, what we've got is the middle of these two. What's the middle of -1/2 and 3/4? 1/8. 1/8. So 1/8 must be in the middle of -1/2 and 3/4. So an 1/8 is in the middle there. So we could write that then, that x minus an 1/8 is less than or equal to, now what's the difference between an 1/8 and 3/4? That's 5/8. So that's what we've got, but that's a bit clumsy. What if we multiply everything by 8? So we could rewrite that exactly the same as 8x minus 1 is less than or equal to 5. Just like that. Okay, closed, you colour in the circles and you use square brackets. Open, you don't colour in the circles and you use round brackets. Okay, factors. Now sometimes, judging by those of you that have done entry tests, the entry tests question on factors are not very well done. The factors of, say, 38 are the natural numbers that divide exactly into that. So the factors of 38 are 1, 2, 19 and 38. The multiples of a number are the results of when that number is multiplied by each of the natural numbers. So say the multiples of 7 would be 7 times 1, 14, 21, 28, and so on. So make sure you know the difference between factors and multiples. Prime numbers. A prime number is a number that has exactly 2 factors, so only 2 factors, and the factors are the number itself and 1. Now 1 is not a prime number because it only has 1 factor. 29 is a prime because 29 is only equal to 1 times 29. What's the largest 2-digit prime number? You need to start listing all the prime numbers, and the largest one will be 97. You need to have a list of prime numbers to work out. How many prime numbers less than 30? Okay, let's start. 2, 3, 5, 7, 11, 13, 17, 19, 23, 29. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. The answer to that is there are 10 primes less than 30. What's the smallest prime number that divides into 91? Now 91 is not prime because 91, you can factorise 91 as 91 being 7 times 13. So the question says what's the smallest prime number? So the answer is 7. How many even prime numbers are there? Tricky question. The answer is 1. Because if the others were even, they'd be all multiples of 2. So we can say that 2 is even and prime because 2 is equal to 2 times 1, so it's prime. But 4 is equal to 2 times 2 times 1. So it's got more factors than just itself and 1. So it's not prime. You need prime numbers because of topography and encryption and computers and all that sort of thing. Now, the lowest common multiple and the highest common factor, the factor's going to be smaller, the multiple's going to be bigger than the numbers that you're talking about. Let's have a look at some examples. Find the highest common factor of 184, 230, and 276. Oops, 276. Now let's factorize these. 184 is equal to 2 times 2 times 2. So I'll write it over here, times 23. 230 is equal to 2 times 5 times 23 as well. And 276 is going to be equal to 2 times 2 times 3 times 23. Now, the highest common factor, well, let's see the common factors. Just let me change colours. Get that back up there again. So the common factors, there's 2 is common to all of them. 5 not 3 is not. 23 is. So the common factor, the biggest common factor, is going to be 2 times 23, which is equal to 46. So prime factorise, you've actually got a button on your calculator that can do that. If there are no common factors, then the highest common factor is 1. So let's find the lowest common multiple of all of those. Let's get rid of that. Come back. Sorry, slight technical hitch there. So let's again write it out. So we're going to write 184. Now I'm going to write it out this time as the way that your calculator actually prime factorizes, but it's the same as above. So it's going to be 2 cubed times 23. 230 is going to be 2 times 5 times 23. 276 is going to be 2 squared times 3 times 23. Now the lowest common multiple is going to be the biggest number or the biggest power of each of the prime factors. So the biggest power of 2 is 2 cubed. The biggest power of 3 is 1. The biggest power of 5 is 1. And the biggest power of 23 is 1. So that's the lowest common multiple. And you see that it's bigger than all of the others. So it's the smallest number into which all of the given numbers will divide equally. Okay. Quickly through fractions then. Fractions shows the relationship of a part of an object to a whole. Pretty straightforward there. You need to remember the rules of fractions. Multiplication, multiply across the top, then multiply across the bottom. So the first one, if we multiply it, we would get 315 over 792, which we can cancel as being 35 times 9 over 88 times 9. and we end up with 35 over 88. Now a third of 51 means a third times 51, but 51 is actually 51 over 1, so that becomes 51 over 3. Now we can simplify that because 51 is 3 times, 3 times 17 over 3 times 1, so the answer is 17. Instead of dividing fractions, we rewrite the problem as a multiplication by the reciprocal of the second one. So 5 over 12 becomes multiple of the reciprocal like that. 10 over 12 or 5 over 6, whatever. So 9 over a third. What it's actually asking is how many thirds in 9, how many third of a pizza in 9 pizzas. You wouldn't say 3. The answer is obviously not 3. So we multiply by the reciprocal and we get 27. Whoops, is the answer. So there are 27 third of a pizzas in a whole pizza. Subtracting, you've got to have the common denominator, or adding, you've got to have the common denominator thing. So whether we're adding or subtracting it doesn't matter. Okay, if we have 7 over 10 minus 1 over 4, we can say, well, the common denominator is going to be, well, it could be 20. 20 is the least common. So we could say 7 over 10 is the same as 14 over 20. And 1 over 4 is the same as 5 over 20, which is equal to 9 over 20. Okay, so that's because 10 and 40, we can use 20. 4 over 8 minus 1 over 6, I think we'd probably, why don't we go for 6 times 8 is 48? No, at least common multiple would be 24, I think. So let's go for 4 over 8, so let's do each fraction over 24. So 4 over 8, we've multiplied 8 by 3, so multiply 4 by 3, multiply 6 by 4 to get 24. So 12 minus 4 is 8 over 23, so 8 over 24, which is 8 times 1 over 8 times 3. So the final answer is 1 over 3. Same works when we've got more than 1. And now we're just going to introduce a little bit of algebra. The common denominator there, you can see, is going to be x plus 1 times x plus 2. So the common denominator will be x plus 1, x plus 2. So let's go. The first term is fine. Now the second term, it's only got x minus 1 on the bottom, so it's got to be multiplied by x plus 2. And if we multiply the bottom by x plus 2, we have to multiply the top by x plus 2. Then we're going to add 3. Now that's over x plus 2. To get it up to being the common multiple, it has to be multiplied by x plus 1. So does the top. And then you would rearrange that and fiddle with that. Make sure you get the right answer, which is 1 minus, no, it's not, let's go even further than that. The final answer would be x minus 6 over the 2 brackets. So if you didn't get this in class, stop the video now and work that out. Okay, a mixed number. Okay, 2 1/3 is 6 over 3 plus 1 over 3 equals 7 over 3. 19 over 5, we could just divide 5 into 19 and get the answer for that. 5 into 19 is 3 and 4 left over, so we'd write it as that. Now, the last little bit of information that you need. Textbook questions done first. Do all those questions. Then you can do a little bit of topic 1 test, but complete before you start doing